Celtics Stuff Live.
Welcome to Celtics Stuff Live on the CLNS Media Network, the leading online provider of audio and video coverage for your Boston Celtics. John, let's just get right into it. I didn't even introduce us. We're skipping right over it. I'm so excited. The fact that this team is 4-2 is just, it's really incredible. And they've had injuries. Marcus Morris is still out. Marcus Smart missed a little bit of time. Now he's back. And obviously Hayward's going to be out extended, and we'll get into the disabled player exception and the things that the Celtics applied for and got approved, and that it doesn't lock them into that. We'll get into all of that. However, how many years in a row now have we watched this team struggle with even some returning players last year struggle out of the gate due to injuries and not be able to put wins up? And I know they had a couple of, I don't want to say softballs, but they had a couple of teams, you know, on the schedule this past week that you would have expected wins. We broke it down, but Milwaukee took the first game against them, and then the Celtics go and play the first game in, I don't know, over 30 years or some craziness in the Mecca, and steal a win on the road. So since you and I last talked, the Celtics haven't lost. The young rookie Jayson Tatum continues to play above expectations, and you know, I don't want to jinx it because they're only 4-2, but how ironic would it be with a almost completely new cast of characters this season? Only 4 players were returning, almost entirely new cast of characters. How ironic would it be for them to struggle with injuries, a major injury, literally 5 minutes into their season, and wind up having a hotter start than they have the last two?
That's nuts. It doesn't make any sense. They're tied. When this releases tomorrow morning, the Celtics will be tied for first place in the Eastern Conference.
Who'd have thunk it?
10 days ago, I mean, I honestly thought if they were 2-4 at this point, you wouldn't be surprised. But here we are, 10 days in. They've won their last 4, and I think, you know, there's been a mix of gutty wins. The Sixers win was a gutty win. The first win, I thought the Heat win was another kind of gutty win. Clearly they were the better team, missing, you know, with the Heat missing Whiteside, not having that, you know, that all-star player that they need. But those are sandwiched around, I think, a really impressive win in Milwaukee. And, you know, the Knicks, they're terrible. But the Milwaukee win in particular, I think, was really impressive for, just as you said, you know, to be the second game of the season, to lose to Giannis, and Giannis still had a really good game. Let's not, you know,
so did Horford.
So did Horford. And Horford matched him and really probably exceeded him on both ends. And then you had Kyrie being just otherworldly. And that was enough. That's what they needed. That was impressive for an entirely different perspective. They came, you know, 2 nights off of an amazing play from their rookies in Brown, or I should say Tatum, and their second-year player in Brown, and those guys could do nothing well against the Bucks, but the stars carried them through. And I thought that was going to be how this team succeeded through in the opening months here without Gordon Hayward. But to see that over this course of 4 wins, really going back to the Sixers win, that's very impressive. And as you said, compared to where we've been in last year's and the amount that Brad does use his bench, he's using everybody almost. Save Yabusele, save, Bird. He's using everybody else, and they're getting W's.
Yeah, and their defense is really exceptional when you consider the injuries and when you consider the young cast of characters. I mean, we talked about the depth of this team, and then look at what they've did the last several seasons defensively. How they, went from being a really dominant defensive team to then mediocre, bottom of the lower pack anyway, lower third, while offensively they took off. Now you have this group of players who haven't played together hardly at all, and the team is one of the top defensive teams in the NBA. This speaks to everything that we previewed at the beginning of the year, with the team having so much flexibility, length, the ability to, switch positions easily, and rotations on defense. Also, when you talk about players like Brown and Tatum plays very smart, and I think he's exceeded expectations. But both of those players play athletically on the defensive end, and I think that covers up for some of those rookie mistakes or second year. I mean, Brown's really defensively got it pretty pulled in. But their quickness and athleticism, they make up for a lot of that, and that length, they're not trying to hide the Isaiah Thomas defensive mismatch that's always come up the last several seasons. And I'm not trying to pick on him, but let's go to Kyrie Irving as well. I think in this system, he's playing better defensively than you would expect. The effort's there. Like, even when he goes to close out the shooter beyond the arc, he is hustling out there. And that means that he's really embraced that, whatever it was in the preseason when Brad, well, we'll see about his defense. You know, he kind of took that little shot at him, but I'll be honest with you. I don't think we can be, I mean, is he an all-world, all-NBA defender? Is he going to make the first, team or second team? No, he's not. But is he putting in the effort? Is he helping become one of the reasons that the team is solid defensively? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not disappointed. I don't feel like he's getting blown by on routine basis.
I think that's very true. He's not going to be, he's not going to be Avery Bradley, one-on-one locking guys down. That's just not who he is. But damn, if he's not doing his job, he's leading the team in deflections. He's getting his hands in the passing lanes. He's creating enough havoc so that the passes are getting tipped. They're going in the right direction. I think that's been the most pleasant surprise. The rookie, well, I don't know. Tatum's defense probably is the best.
Tatum is
surprise.
By far the most pleasant surprise.
You can't say that.
And everybody gets geeky for a rookie, right? And so when he's blocking shots, getting rebounds, flying, for a guy his size, and I know everybody wants to say he's not the most athletic, but I see why the comparisons to Paul Pierce here, because he's so smooth, but you see him get out on the break. Who that size has that kind of a handle and leaping ability? I get it, the explosion may not be there, but he's in so much control that even if there are other players that are quicker laterally than he is, because his handle is there and because he knows what he's doing before he does it, and that polish is NBA level polish. That's not college polish. When he crosses over in the break super fast like that and changes speeds, that's NBA polish. That is just an incredible surprise for anybody who likes to watch young players do well. And, that comparison against Fultz is really looking to be in our favor, in a big way.
Let's put a pin in that. I want to come back to that later because there's a lot we can talk about with the Sixers and their handling of Fultz.
All right, we'll just put the pin in right there.
Put the pin in right there, and then we'll circle back later on. Just talking defense. Let's go back to D for a little bit. I think Tatum being a separate category. I will say this about Tatum. I would not have thought he would be the best defender out of all the rookies, which clearly he has been. And by the point save metrics, and you look at all those Twitter, everyone posts the NBA math, headshots of where people fit on the graph, and he's far and away the best of the points saved. Would not have seen that. His deflections. I mean, he's another guy creating deflections all over the place. Just everywhere. He's aware his positioning is really, next level in terms of being 6 games into his career. But
how about that offensive rebound and tip in the last game they played? I mean, that was just, Miami was sleeping a little bit on the glass in that particular play, but I don't think they expected him to sneak in. I think there was 3 players that actually were closer to the rim than he was, but because they didn't really coordinate that effort, he just jumped right up there and just nice lay-in, really nice smooth touch there.
He had the seal going before the shot was still in the air. They had no idea what was going. No one does that. And good players do it. The Barkleys, the guys who are those amazing, next level players in terms of rebounding, they do that. I'm not sure that he's going to be that guy, but I like it. I'm not going to turn my nose up at it. It's good stuff. Going back to Kyrie and back to the defensive overall effort. I'm just so impressed with the fact that Kyrie's at that modest, reliable level. He's using his length. He's not getting blown by. Like you said, he's not going to be this amazing, all-world defender, but he's more than adequate. And as I said, those deflections, those hands in the passing lanes, I think that is going to set up the rest of the team to do good stuff. That's why we're seeing, Brown gain some steals and Horford. It's creating opportunities for other players. So not only is he trying to, and I think he's done a great job of this, particularly in the game against the Heat, and against creating in the Bucks game, creating shots for Horford, creating opportunities for his teammates, and he's not going out and scoring 30 and getting 3 assists. He's going out and getting 22, 23, 25 and getting 7, 8, 9 assists. That to me, that's the evolutionary Kyrie. That's round earth Kyrie, not flat earth Kyrie. That's round earth Kyrie. And he had to go to Brad Stevens to become round earth Kyrie.
Third rock from the sun. Yeah, round earth Kyrie, I like him. Welcome to Boston. Thank you for assimilating. It is kind of a collegiate city around there. So absolutely. I will just say this. Also, we've got to go a little end of the bench and roster construction.
I know where you're
going.
What
Danny did, because
absolutely,
man, Baines over Johnson is a no-brainer. And secondarily, even Tice. I know we got to see Kelly Olynyk this week, and Kelly, still does that nice magic underneath the rim, and you see him kind of get in backdoor with a couple of cuts, and there's a lot to like. He did that, show and go move, took a couple of steps into a wide open look and clanked it off the back of the rim. I loved Kelly, but the defense, when they need some length and they need some shot blocking and they need a guy who, is going to just go up against somebody who's a little more muscly. I mean, Baines will give up his body. And I'm not saying Amir Johnson wouldn't, but it is a completely different outcome when he does.
Oh, insert photo of him, trying to stop Giannis. I mean, nobody does that, right? Nobody does that in the NBA. Nobody is willing to take the pride hit to be the guy who's going to get posterized. And you know what? He threw his body in line because he said, I'm not letting Giannis throw this down over me and my teammates. He stood up. And kudos to him, because it looked bad when he was face down on the ground. Can we talk
about the posterizing thing? Play the damn game. Play the damn game. You don't worry about getting posterized.
Exactly.
Really? Oh, I don't want to be on YouTube tomorrow. Get out of here. You're paid a lot of money. This whole, that's head in the wrong place kind of stuff.
Oh, he got killed. He's dead. R.I.P. You know what? Like, grow up. Like, play defense, right? That's what you do. Like, so what? You dunk on him, you go get 2 on the other end. You cut him out underneath. I mean, play the game. Play the game. Don't give me this, we can't try to defend the rim because it's going to hurt his pride. No, screw your pride, man. Play basketball. That's what it's about. And I agree. Like, Baines, kudos to Aaron Baines. Him and whatever he's packing. We love Aaron Baines. It's great. It's great. And so, we got Baines, we got Tice. I agree with you. Tice did nice job in the pick and roll there in the second unit.
Are you surprised how fluid he is when he's trying to get into the, I know he's not going to score 12, 15 points a night, anything ridiculous like that. But are you kind of surprised at how smooth he's sometimes, he's got some moves with the ball. I'm surprised how much he can dribble. And again, I'm only comparing him to other big men that play more traditionally. I know he can run, and I get that, but he's still more of a traditional style big. He's got a little bit of ability to stretch the floor, but I'd still say most of his strengths are more traditional strengths for a guy who plays power forward / center in the NBA. And I was pleasantly surprised with some of the moves that we've seen him, try to. He doesn't always finish them, but I think he should keep trying, because I think one of the things that I like about this team, I know we didn't see it as much with the Bucks, but you can see Kyrie taking a back seat to let other people grow. And against those lesser opponents, that was absolutely the case. Even the Miami game, Like, he had some really sick moves in that game, but he also had some horrendous air balls. Like, it didn't seem like he really was into it. They had Marcus Smart out there in the fourth quarter, bringing the ball up the floor as well, so they moved Kyrie off ball. And you can see him trying to let others get involved. But I think the thing we did see in Miami, which is also encouraging, is once the game was kind of close when it shouldn't have been, they turned it back over to Kyrie and he got it done and closed out the game for him. And that's exactly what you want to see. Lots of room for growth. And at the same time, when the game's on the line, he's going to get it done.
Yeah, I think part of it, I loved the end in terms of his ability to finish, but I think that what let Miami kind of come back into that game was really symptomatic of the fact that the Celtics, they still don't have that connection. And we're going to see against the Spurs on Monday night how cohesive this group is, because that's where the Spurs really can drive wedges into it. They're not there yet. And I think it could be a hard time for them against the Spurs because they don't have that kind of that familiarity that we saw with last year's group. And nor why should they at this point, of course. But the ball movement was a little sticky. A lot of people looking for their own shot. And I'll give Kyrie, I think Kyrie should be looking for his shot, but there's times when you feel like, just try to get one or two passes, instead of just coming and jacking it. That run where they missed 3 threes in a row, that was started with a Kyrie heat check, on the right elbow, the right foul line extended. Then was it Tito and then Horford, or Horford and then Tito? Either way, those 3 straight possessions where we got 0 and they got points on the other end, that really made the game close at the end. Really shouldn't have had to have Kyrie's heroics had they kind of just run a regular, well run offense. They've got to find a way to get more guys involved. Brown wasn't having a great game. Tatum, I think, was getting points and being productive in limited stretches, but they really weren't moving the ball well. And I think Brown is
not
kind
like
of
they did.
My side.
Yeah,
they need
in
to
the
get
Bucks
better on
game,
that end of it.
In the Bucks game, the way that the offense definitely flowed through Horford, and aggressive Horford, we saw many glimpses of him again this week, but I don't know if he was quite as aggressive in the Miami game. And that's what I mean about turning it on, turn it off. And I think they look at the opponents and try to do some different things. And they knew Milwaukee was a tough one, so they lean on Kyrie and Al. But to the point of the bench being a little thin and still Marcus Morris being out, I think they know that they have to figure out a way to rest some players while still having them on the floor at the same time. And the only way to do that is to decrease those touches. But it's going to cause periods where the offense isn't clicking. And as long as the team is focused on defense during those stretches, I think they'll be able to weather the storm if the game starts to get out of control. Even look at the third quarter and the end of the second half of that game against Miami. It was like the Celtics went up and then Miami kind of closed it, then the Celtics went up and Miami closed it and the Celtics went up again. It was one of those games where a couple of years ago when you're battling against a Cleveland and you're hanging around in the game, you're being toyed with. And I kind of felt like that in the Miami game. To your point, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't beautiful, etc. But I feel like they knew what they were going to do if they, needed to push that lead up, and they did it every single time. Remember how many times last year they would give up that lead, and then they would be down by 10 by the time the fourth quarter started? We haven't seen that this year, and I don't think we will, and it's because I think that the team really is in a lot more control. Kyrie and Horford, again, what we saw them do, really amazing. I don't want to get beaten this drum too much this year, but that what if with Gordon Hayward is huge, because now we're seeing what, contributions of young players are able to do in those games and that they're closing them out. And do you think that Kyrie was leaned on as much in Miami as Isaiah Thomas was in 60% of the fourth quarters last year?
No way. That was a much more democratized effort, I think, against Miami. And I think that's part of that's leaning on more on Smart. I think they didn't have a guy like Jayson Tatum a year ago. I think that the ability Jayson Tatum has in scoring points with only limited opportunities. I mean, he's getting free throw attempts like nothing. It's like water. I mean, that's when you have the mark of a special scorer. When you can think that they're not taking any shots or many shots whatsoever. And you look at the score sheet at the end. Hey, he still had 12. Hey, he hit 20 points. I mean, what do you have? Six for 9 shooting? I mean, that's nuts, and he just has an ability to get the ball in the basket. And it's not some of the comparisons we always like Rudy Gay. That's not Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay was not playing defense like this at any point in his career. We'll see tomorrow if he's made that change going to San Antonio, but this is a different animal we have with Jayson Tatum. And I think that, to your point, the change in the dynamic in terms of the team and having a player of that caliber or Jaylen Brown kind of going up as a player, a renewed and I guess integrated Al Horford.
Were you just about to do your Bill Walton impression? Renewed. I knew it was coming. When you said renewed, I was like, that almost came out in Bill Walton voice. That's how long we've been doing this. I even know when you don't do something, but you were thinking it the whole time.
I was thinking it.
I know. The renewed.
I was there with the Dead in Altamont in 73. We had a cornucopia of all kinds of sounds coming at us. Did I ever tell you when Bill Walton met the Jerry Garcia for the very first time? Okay, we're done. We're done with this.
No, let's move on. That's the second appearance from Bill Walton this season. Let's move on. There was like 5 years before that. That's all right, though. I like Bill. Hey, all right, we're at the midpoint in the show. When we come
Yes.
I'm just going to remind everybody how to follow us and stay tuned on social media. But when we come back, we do have to talk about Fultz. We put a pin in that, so we're going to pull the pin out and talk about it. And I do want to discuss the San Antonio game because with Kawhi Leonard still out, I think it'll still be a test. But I'm not sure. I think this thing could be a lot closer than it ordinarily would have been. But Hayward is out and Kawhi is out, so we'll just say it's an even matchup in that case. But it's not really. Follow Celtics Stuff Live on Twitter at CSL_tweetlive, as well as your host. You can follow me at CSL_Justin. John is at CSL_Duke. The entire CLNS Media Network is at CLNS Media, and the Facebook page, facebook.com/CLNS fans. Download the CLNS Media app for iOS and Android. Just go to your app marketplace and search CLNS Media. We've got a new website that's going to be released very soon. We're very excited about that. I think everybody will enjoy it quite a lot. The new format is pretty slick. And CLNS Radio's YouTube channel, youtube.com/CLNS Media, for high definition, full length locker room interviews and the Garden Report with the cast of characters, the owner Nick Gelso, Jimmy Toscano, the young guy, Trags, the sage veteran, and then Josue Pavone, the man who asks questions in the playoffs that people don't want to answer. Yeah, that's right, Steve. Anyway, here we go. You want to start with Fultz, or do you want to preview San Antonio and the rest of the week?
Let's go Fultz. Let's talk about.
I'm going to let you just kick that right off.
A one-time potential Celtic. I mean, look, you live down there, so you're hearing all of this. Let's talk about. I want to pull out a small piece of this, and then we'll talk about Fultz in terms of the player and so. Obviously, Markelle Fultz, fair chance. We all thought he was going to be a Celtic, unquestioned number one, going into the draft lottery. And, we were fans of, Tatum and Jackson had some, there was some buzz there, but really, Fultz was the name. Things fall apart. Everyone's asking questions. Why did Danny take, Tatum instead of Fultz? I mean, even to this day, we had, the knuckleheads, the zookeepers there on 98.5 The Sports Hub talking about how, well, Danny, why did you take Markelle Fultz? Why did you trade away Markelle Fultz for Tatum? I mean, it's like, it's over. Enough. We've seen enough. Tatum was the guy. What I don't understand is the Philly media, and mostly them being involved in the Ringer. The Ringer having started by, former Boston sports guy, Bill Simmons. hires a lot of Philly guys. And so they put together this pretty interesting little thing of what have we learned in the first, week or whatever of the NBA season. And they spend the whole time basically talking about Simmons and Embiid and Fultz. Were it not for Kevin O'Connor, former Celtics Stuff Live guest, good guy, smart guy, the best they have there at the Ringer, it would have been a complete Philly washout. Best rookies out there. You wouldn't even know that Tatum exists were it not for Kevin O'Connor. There's just this Philly nonsense going on out there. Everyone's excited for Philly. What have they done? I mean, it's a joke. And now
they can't stay healthy.
Can't stay healthy.
I would be so frustrated. And you're right. I do live down here, and I got a bunch of neighbors who are 76ers fans. And I do see the interest in rooting for that team. If they're healthy and they grow together, they will be very exciting. And Embiid is, he's Embiid. And so Fultz is kind of still an unknown. A lot of it, too, because of the college selection, right? But it's the health that's such a question mark. Simmons couldn't stay healthy. Embiid couldn't stay healthy. And then this is the way that Fultz kicks off, his campaign, his rookie campaign. I just would be, as a 76ers fan, I would be really frustrated. This would bother me because the trust the process and the losing, they're still not necessarily going to be a playoff team because the players are so young. It's just the way it is. But you want to start seeing some wins rack up, and you want to see these young players playing together. And so for Fultz to suffer this injury, I mean, the J.J. Redick thing, though, that's what everybody's excited about. It is so funny, but everybody down here is like, thank God we finally have a veteran on this team who can really put the ball in the hoop. And so they see a change sort of just in the way that the team plays and the effort. And they didn't bring in Redick to just help a young team lose games. So I think that shift in the attitude is buying a lot of time with 76ers fans, even if the wins aren't racking up. I think they're more patient now because they've been through this trust the process of, and essentially intentionally losing, that they're excited. But I would still, if I were them, and I'm not, but if I were, I would find it incredibly frustrating, this Fultz injury. And I know there's nothing you can do about it, but to your point, to put Tatum like on a complete back burner, I mean, wasn't that the storyline that everybody wanted to bang the drum on this year? Was that trading down and the Celtics had that pick and this and that and all the movement? I feel like that's a missed opportunity more than anything, just professionally speaking. If you've got a bunch of Philly writers and you've got a Boston writer, they should have been pit up right against each other. Why not feed into that storyline that's going to be playing out for years to come?
And if I'm KOC, I'm doing a victory lap. I called this, right? He was waving the Tatum banner as loudly and proudly as anybody I've ever seen in the pre-draft warm-ups in a national sense. Everyone else was all buying in on the Fultz train. And, look, a lot of us lapped it up. We were right there. But the more that came out, he was unwavering in that. Good on Kevin for sticking with it. But let's go to the Sixers side of it. Okay, so let's run it down. We got Noel, we got Embiid, we got Simmons, we got Fultz. 4 years of top picks that have now gone down the drain. And so the thing is, I understand from Philly's perspective, we're gonna bring Redick in and we're going for it now. Embiid's healthy, we're going for it now. Simmons is back, we're going for it now. But you don't take leave of your senses to do that. And what they've done with Fultz, and not only having him play through this injury, when you see a player of yours shooting a free throw like in that manner, which clearly he's labored, clearly there's something wrong with his form, you shut the guy down and you get him right. There is no sense in messing the guy up. I mean, we're talking about like the Steve Sachs disease type situation. Is this mental? Is there more to it? I mean, thank God it seems like it's a physical thing, but why are you even trying? You're 2-4 at this point. Shut him down, get him right, and get his career going. It boggles the mind what they're doing there. And the fact they'd even play him with this injury, it's malpractice. I know Sam Hinkie got a lot of guff, and he should. There's a lot of things that didn't work right in terms of the culture of that team, but you can't tell me the Colangelos have got it figured out with what they've done with Markelle Fultz here. And I feel bad for the guy. I'm not one of these, forget him. The Celtics got Tatum, haha.
Right,
no,
we didn't
like
pick
that.
him, so
good on him.
Yeah, we don't want to.
Well,
you don't want to be bitter. You want that storyline to play out. I mean, yes, you want to be on the winning end of that storyline, but you definitely don't want an Odin scenario with that, right? Where we have no idea what Odin would have been because I was Durant and you were Odin.
That's right.
And so with that in mind, it would have been really nice for us to have that debate for years to come, but we really don't. So we just have to know that I was probably still going to be right. But anyway, that you don't want that. What we wanted was a healthy Odin who was battling Kevin Durant, in the postseason for years and years and years, and for them to be linked. And that's what you want with Tatum and Fultz as well. You want them to be linked. You want them to be playing against each other. You want them to be leading their respective teams to some degree in the postseason. And the thing about Philly is it's got this unique tie with Boston for some reason because Boston's had all these high picks. So it's like two young teams built in completely opposite ways. And so you want that rivalry. Despite the fact that, Beat LA was chanted for the 76ers in the Garden, right? Even though there's maybe some brotherly love, at the same time, you want that rivalry. You want that back. And you want something unique. I mean, think about the rivalries. It's always New York. It's always New York. It's always New York, right? Let's have a new one. Let's just get a new city to mess with. And the Philly would be an awesome one as the Celtics get younger and pass the torch and stay in the postseason. And then they amass all this talent. You would want them to be playing well. But you definitely don't want to see somebody like Fultz end up like Odin, and definitely not because he's playing when he shouldn't be.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, you want to see them at their best. You want to take them on at their best. You want to do what you can. And Philly is mismanaging this yet again. And you wonder how long it's going to take before something else goes wrong. This is Noel was kicked to the curb. Basically, they got 2 second rounders for him. Very low for what he was as a number 6 pick. I'm just saying, you're right. Let's get something going. We have the thing going with Washington. We'll see if that has rekindled. That team is tied for first, just like the Celtics. But a tough loss against the Warriors after being up 20 at the half. So, but I really dislike the Washington Wizards. So it's a little bit different right now. I'd say probably Philly's a little bit more like the kid brother that you want to beat more than, that you really don't think has a chance to beat.
No, you want them to grow into a competitor so that you can have that. And you're right. It's Washington right now. It's funny that the Raptors never really, as much as that team had kicked our heinies the last 2 years, it still was never really a budding rivalry. There was no heat in those matchups at all. But in the Washington, there's plenty of heat. And with the 76ers, there's not, but that's just because the two teams are in complete different levels of ability. But if their
best players aren't playing or play one out of like the 5 games they play against each other. Like it's just.
But if they were competitive, and then I think that could have some real teeth to it. I think that could get chippy. So you want it to. That's what's exciting. Let's preview the week before we get to the too much time and we're cramming it in at the end. Let's talk about first off the Spurs game, right? So if we look at the week to come, we've got the Spurs on Monday, we've got the Kangz on Wednesday. I do love the lack of back-to-backs. I will just tell you. It's nice. Then on Friday, they hit the road and play the Thunder. And then next Sunday, the Orlando Magic, who they currently share the top seed with a few other teams as well in the Eastern Conference, as you astutely mentioned earlier. But that's a pretty good week. We didn't make predictions. All last season we predicted the week ahead. We didn't do that last week, but the team...
Yeah, we did.
Well, we didn't nail the number down. We looked at the week ahead, but we didn't make predictions. And I just want to get back into the predictions. So I think you and I thought it was 2-1 with a possibility of 3-0, but we never really said it. We just said, hey, we got 2 lemons and we got a team who just beat us. So hopefully with a little bit of revenge, and we said that Brad having some time to strategize, he'd probably sneak a win. They might go 3-0. That's how we characterize it. Now we're just going to go straight up and lay it right out there. I'm going to say the Celtics won 4 games in a row. I actually think they can play this Spurs game pretty competitively, and I think they could sneak a win. I just don't think they will. I'm not sure that this is a team that's ready to just rattle off 5, 6, 7, 8 straight. I just don't think they've quite gotten good enough. And I'm waiting for like the real down night, the flat performance by the entire team, because we haven't seen that yet. You almost think that they've been motivated by the Hayward thing, that has somehow charged them out of the gate to have a chip on their shoulder. Instead of feeling out each other and feeling out the season, it's almost like his injury immediately made them aggressive. They had to compensate for the loss of that player. I like the way that the teams responded, but they're due for a flat effort. I'm not saying it'll be against the Spurs, but I am saying that they may just not be ready to win, so many 4 games in a row, 5 games in a row, 6. That's going to be tough. So, and I don't, as much as the Thunder, are kind of got this weird cast of characters that isn't coming together quite the way you would hope. You're looking at Westbrook, and he's kind of still doing Westbrook things. I think he wants his new teammates to be involved, but he's also knows how to win and has done it on his own. So that's a weird chemistry thing, but I think they're going to take that one too. So I'm going to actually say 2-2 this week. I think they get the wins against Sacramento and Orlando, but I think they kind of go on and off. Off night, on night, off night, on night, and they lose against the 2 Western Conference teams.
I'm going to go 3-1.
Wow.
And yep. And here's why. Marcus Smart. Because when Marcus Smart plays in Oklahoma City, Marcus Smart plays like an all-star. And I fully predict that he's going to go to Oklahoma City, and in the middle of a contract year, by that time his ankles should be feeling better, and go off for 25 and 10 and 8.
You're right. He's mini Westbrook every time he's in Oklahoma City. You're right.
Absolutely.
You definitely can't sleep on Marcus Smart in OKC.
OKC and in Dallas, you can put the money on the table because you're collecting. The dude is just absolutely nails when it comes to those games. So I am going to say they're going to win.
Do you think he looks up to Westbrook? Do you think that's why he always plays so well against him? Like, what is the deal there? I mean, Texas makes sense. He's going home. Man, don't get it twisted. Excellent poll. Excellent poll. Even if we do get it twisted.
Yeah.
It's, but tell me, what do you think it is? Maybe. What is the OKC thing? Why there?
It's home. It's going back to Oklahoma State. It's Dallas is going home. I think there's a familiarity there that he loves. And I think that triggers him to do great things, in the same way that it triggers him at the end of the game. He feels at home. So I'm just going to get the game saving rebound,
Let's pray he's never in
what he does.
Let's pray he's never in another uniform other than the Celtics uni, because
gosh,
he'll attack Boston the exact same way.
Oh yeah, he'll be a killer.
He won't Kelly Olynyk us. He'll Marcus Smart at OKC or Texas us.
Yeah. I do want to talk absolutely. And I think I want to talk a little bit about the Spurs game, because I think that's a game. They're going to throw some bigs at us. Their wings aren't all that strong, and I think that's a game that Kyrie could do really well in. DeJounte Murray has had a really good start to the year. He's a guy who I think would have been the player I was hoping they'd get, maybe instead of RJ Hunter. But those things you can't really worry about. But DeJounte Murray has really kind of taken his game to the next level, and as an athletic, bigger point guard, kind of revitalized the Spurs a bit. However, he's going up against Kyrie Irving, I think. I think Kyrie's going to have a big game against the Spurs on Monday. I don't think it's going to be enough, but I think that that's going to be where the Celtics are going to have to make their bones, because the bigs are I think they're going to, San Antonio bigs, LaMarcus Aldridge's having a good year. They got Gasol. I think they're going to have a good run over there. Can the kids find a way to win their matchup? Can they get ahead of Danny Green? Can they make that Rudy Gay, can they win those matchups? If Tatum and Brown can kind of find something of the form that we saw not only against the Knicks, but maybe or even earlier against the Bucks and against I'd say the Cavs, they got a shot. They could win that game. I'm not feeling it. I feel like the Spurs are going to be too cohesive. And as you said a little bit before, I feel like when Hayward went out, they've pulled together, but they still haven't really figured out how to mesh really well. I think Horford and Irving are finding that, but they haven't figured out how to get the ball to Jaylen Brown at all. That guy, I'm not even sure he was missing shots, but it wasn't even like he was part of the offense for good parts of the game against the Heat.
Yeah, it starts with his 3-pointer. If he's hitting the three, the rest of it sort of evolves. But I think the issue primarily is that he works best, in transition too. And if they're not getting out in transition when he's out on the floor, it's a lot tougher for him to do that. He does get to the free throw line, even though he didn't have a great game in Miami. All of his offense came from forcing things at the rim. You know what? The experiment that they could have done if Gordon Hayward was still here was they could move Gordon to the 2, leave Tatum at the 3 like they're playing him now, but he would have been at the 4, and I believe he would have still been in the starting lineup if Hayward were healthy. But what they could have done was flip Brown to the 4 and have him work more in the post. His rebounding and his ability to draw contact and get to the line is really strong. And he did play well last season when he had some of those dry spells. I mean, I know he had a nice stretch in Avery Bradley's absence, but when he kind of had a dry spell, they'd play him at the 4 and have him do some of the work on the boards, etc. And that always kind of spurned him on. And I don't feel like they have that luxury right now. They just don't have somebody else. They could put Terry Rozier out there, but it just changes a lot of the rotations and what they're trying to do. And I don't think that's how they want to attack it. But
Terry's
that
cooled
would
off
have been the
quite a
way.
bit.
He's cooled off a ton.
I think, but you're right though. I think that's a good point. You go smaller and you use Brown, Tatum, Hayward, with Horford and spread it out. Baines, this is the thing. Like Baines is really good defensively. He's good on the boards. You need him to handle the bigger bodies out there, but his presence does clog things up quite a bit. There is a lot less room right now for Kyrie to drive. And that, I think, is a bit of the problem in terms of the offensive cohesion. They don't have enough inside out. They don't have enough people driving. And that's one thing I would say about Brown is, he told Abby Chin after the game, they can't stay in front of me. Nobody can stay in front of me. Well, how about you show that? Because right now what's going on is, you're right, he's taking the 3 and that's it. It's over. Like he's got to get to the rim. They need him to get inside out. They need Tatum going inside out. They're going to move the ball and drive closeouts and find ways to get to the basket. But you make a great
point about Baines.
Inside, they need to make that defense, accordion, go in and out, in and out. And what's happening is they can't do it. And then with Baines in there, it's just that extra piece that's clogging everything up.
Marcus Morris could be a big change for that. When he gets healthy, that could alter a little bit of this. And we've actually just got a couple of minutes left here. I wanted you to clarify on your prediction. You said they'd go 3-1, but you didn't say which team. And I'm believing you insinuated it was the OKC game is the win and the Spurs might be the loss.
That's right.
That's where you're at?
Yeah. And that's making a big assumption saying they're going to beat the, tied for number 1 Orlando Magic, who have played pretty spirited ball here so far. You're absolutely right though. 3-1, the loss is going with the Spurs game on Monday night.
All right. Well, I'm with you, but I think they're going to drop both. It will be great to see Marcus Smart back in OKC. That is going to do it for this week's show. The broadcast will be available on demand on the CLNS Media mobile app, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at CSL_Justin and at CSL_Duke. A heartfelt thank you to everybody for tuning in, and remember that you can help support the show by subscribing to Celtics Stuff Live on iTunes and Stitcher. We'd love it if you gave us a rating and a review because your feedback is important to the show. And a quick reminder that you've got to listen to us every single week. That's right, every Monday morning. And most importantly, you'd be supporting the entire CLNS Media Network. So look on the lookout for the new website. It's going to be very nice. For staff writer Samuel Elias, executive producer Larry H. Russell, the founder of CLNS Media, Nick Gelso, and my co-host John Duke, I'm Justin Poulin. Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Celtics Stuff Live.
Celtics Stuff Live.